Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Devils in God's Country. I'm one of your hosts, Casper Rigsby. Uh, our co-host, Mr. Tony Prouse, is here with us right now tonight. Say hi, Tony.
Hello, everyone.
Miss Allie Jackson hopefully will be joining us. She's having some technical difficulties right now, so hopefully she can get that squared away and get in here pretty quickly. Um, if not, we'll do our best without her. Always love having her here and having another viewpoint. So tonight's topic is the dangers of oh crap, I can't read it there. Why not? The dangers of religious privilege. So to start off, let's introduce this by making it understood what we mean by religious privilege. Um, and it's not that complex of an issue. Um, Basically, it's saying that religious people, and especially certain religious groups in this country, receive a level of privilege where they're not held to the same standards as others, and on occasion even not held to abiding by the law. Um, and to really introduce into the topic itself, I wanted to talk about a recent court ruling in Louisiana where a judge ruled that priests do not have to disclose abuse of children or anyone really when they know that these things are taking place. Um, so it's a strange concept to me, that you can know that a crime is occurring, and yet you are not beholden to report that. And even if someone finds out that you knew about it, well, you're excused under the letter of the law, uh, because of your religion. Because you're a religious person or a religious leader, you're now excused from actually following the letter of the law. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, under the law, if you know that someone is committing a crime, you have a duty to report that. And if it's found out that you knew about this, that you knew someone committed a crime or was going to commit a crime, and you don't say anything, and the police find out about this, and the court system finds out about this, you can be charged as an accomplice for that crime because you knew about it and you didn't say anything. Um, so here we have a situation where a priest, because according to uh, according to the tenets of Catholicism, a priest is a confessor, someone that you confess your sins and your grievances to, and then you can pretty much tell anyone. It's like a psychiatrist or whatnot. You can tell them whatever, and they're not allowed to tell anybody else. Um, this makes for a really, really fucked up situation. Um, and the reason that is because the only reason that these people have for not what's going on, especially in the case of abuse of children, is because that would violate their religious tenets. Um, so here we have a case where we're saying that someone's religious beliefs um, are held in higher esteem than the health and well-being of another human being. Now, that's a fucked up thing. That's a fucked up situation. Someone's beliefs hold a higher amount of sway than someone else's well-being. Um, it's a fucked up thing to think that. Let's just pose an idea here. What if someone comes into the church, um, to this priest, and confesses to them that they're fixing to go on a murder spree? The priest is under no obligation to tell anyone. They don't have to say anything. They're excused from following the letter of the law and preventing a criminal act because of their beliefs. Um, you or I, any other normal citizen, we're not afforded that luxury. Um, we're not afforded the ability to knowingly let someone commit a crime. You know, people get away with it all the time. I'm sure. I'm sure there are plenty of people that know somebody's going to go out and do something fucked up, and they never say anything, um, and they don't get caught. You know, nobody ever really knows about it. Um, but they're not excused from it. It's not like if it's found out that they knew about it, that they'll be excused from having abided by the law and gone to the police and said, hey, this person's fixing to do this fucked up thing, or this person has done this fucked up thing. Um, I don't think that society is better for um, having people that are excused from following the law simply because of their beliefs. I don't think that does society any good whatsoever. Um, to say that anyone, for any reason, should be above following the law. You know, um, I'll hand it off to you for a minute, Tony. I'm gonna kind of gather my thoughts a little bit.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I did share this on Facebook, and I was rather surprised. I didn't think the courts, at least the Louisiana courts, would be that fucking stupid. And it just mildly amuses me that a lot of these priests claim that where's God, in the government, in the schools. Okay, I think the better question they need to ask themselves is, where is supposedly your God in his churches? Because it doesn't seem like he's protecting anyone in the church. And it just goes to show that they've had their way for so long, and they think that they're entitled to it, and they're not.
And of course, that's what privilege is. It's when you've been afforded leniency for so long that you think you deserve it, and you continue to get it. It's become the norm, so you expect more. More of the same. You expect things to stay the same, and you expect that you're going to get some special treatment because you're privileged. You have the right to get special treatment because you've always had it. And these religious people, especially priests, especially the Catholic Church, um, they've enjoyed privilege for a very long time, for centuries. They've enjoyed privilege. We see priests that molest children, and the church covers it up. They move them to a different state, to a different parish. They'll even bring them into Vatican City, and they're outside of the reach of the law, and it's just been the norm for so long that they just expect that to be how it is. And here we have a judge who is supposed to act in the best interest of everyone, and this judge is not acting in the best interest of everyone. He's acting in the best interest of one small minority group, specifically to aid them in not having to follow the law. And that's a heinous act. I mean, it's heinous to see that happen. Um, the welfare of another human being should always be importance, uh, and it should trump religious beliefs or any other sort of ideology, philosophical ideologies. Doesn't matter. A person's well-being should always trump those things, and especially when we're dealing with children, the well-being of a child should certainly trump someone's religious beliefs or even just strongly held personal beliefs. Um, and this becomes very dangerous. You know, you have a situation where a child comes to you and tells you, hey, this is happening, and you don't report it to anybody, you don't tell anybody, and it escalates and escalates to the point where real physical harm befalls that child. Um, from an ethical and moral standpoint, you have to say that these people are ethically and morally repugnant. And if it goes to the point where this child is actually physically injured, physically hurt, mentally injured, um, it's part of the burden lies with that priest that didn't come forward and say something. And of course, you know, it comes down to a personal matter for every priest, for anyone in that position, any religious person, any non-religious person. It comes down to a personal matter of, you know, what you choose to do, um, and I guess what you think you can live with. You know, can you live with having allowed this to happen? You know, if someone kills their child, um, whether it's a parent or a step parent or a boyfriend or um, an uncle, anyone, someone else in the community, if someone kills that child, that blood's on your hands if you knew about it and you did nothing. You know, you you are at least partially culpable in that act. You allowed it to happen, and so it becomes a very dangerous thing when we deal with this religious privilege. You know, you're above the law. You have the privilege to not follow the same edicts that everyone else follows. So, you know, if someone gets hurt because of it, oh well, at least you still maintain your privilege. You know, if these people cared about their communities, um, and the people in their communities the way that they say they do, they would have been there at the court saying, no, no, we have to, we have an obligation to say something. You know, we have an obligation to say something that exceeds our obligation to be a confessor and be someone who can be confided in and trusted. You know, there's a level of trust, um, that you have to understand sometimes has to be broken, um, for the well-being of others. You know, um, if people feel like they can't confide in you, um, but you saved a life, then you know what's more ethically correct. You know, what's more ethically acceptable. You know, for me personally, um, I have friends, neighbors, family that can gladly confide in me, on a great many things. Hey, there's Allie.
Hmm.
Um, but if one of those people tells me that they've committed a crime or they're going to commit a crime, that you know, then I have an obligation to break that trust, to say, you know, for the well-being of others, um, I have to say something. So I don't know. Let's let Miss Allie talk for a little bit. She says her connection sucks, so she probably won't get any video here, but we should be able to hear her just fine. So you want to jump in here, Allie? I know you missed the beginning of it a little bit, but I know you know what we're discussing here.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yep, we can hear just fine.
Good. If I start breaking up, you guys feel free to hop in on me here. But yeah, so I did miss the beginning of what you guys said. I've been having some bad connection issues due to the storm here. So yeah, we're talking about the religious privilege, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so one thing that really gets me something that I made a post about recently on Atheist Republic and on my timeline is, and I'm so sorry if this is kind of off of what you guys were talking about, but so I did talk about how you be very careful with atheists and their identities in other countries. In a lot of countries, atheists have to hide who they are so that they aren't basically turned in and killed, murdered for their thoughts and beliefs. So it really, really sucks that on Facebook, especially in their real lives, they have to hide their identity and hide who they are. And we hear so much in America about, religious oppression. So people are having a war on Christmas, and people are, like, just on every turn, Christians are saying they're being oppressed. And it's like, if you seriously look at the rest of the world and look at the real oppression, look what's really happening to people, you know that it's not so much Christian oppression as it is a lot of atheists are being highly oppressed. And if they do want to complain about Christian oppression, then their main concern, in my opinion, needs to be on the poor Christians who are in Islamic countries, who also need to, for the most part, hide their identity and hide who they are, because lives are at stake. They want to sit here and bitch that the world is so fucked up because there's a separation of church and state. They should be able to no abortion because it violates their religious rights and blah, blah, blah. But look at the people who are fucking dying for who they are and what they believe in other countries. I think it's crazy.
No, it's definitely it's definitely a fucked up issue to deal with in a nation that is mostly free, where people have the freedom to express their thoughts and their viewpoints. We have to wonder how much can we crack down on what on people's freedoms. But I think when you're dealing with something like this, you deal with whether or not someone is going to be hurt. Whether it could actually cause harm to another individual, to say, well, your religious freedom should have a place here. It should have a stake in the decision process. And I think when we're dealing with people's well-being, your religious freedom, it goes out the window. Another person's well-being is more important than your religious freedom. It just is. Even here in a nation where people are free, your religious freedom is not going to trump someone else's well-being. It shouldn't. But and we deal with people trying to make laws and pass laws to specifically injure people emotionally and physically, to exclude people, laws that are divisive, that tear apart communities, that break down society, all because of someone's personal religious beliefs. It leads into a very dangerous arena. That's how you get into theocracy and people saying, well, we've been given the privilege for so long. Let's see how far we can push it. Let's see how much privilege we can get, and let's see how much we can influence what everyone else has to abide by or doesn't have to abide by. Something you want to add, Tony?
Yeah. Well, this goes a little beyond the court case, because it just goes to show that it also happens not just to children, but also in the LGBT community. Mike Pence, for example, he passed that stupid ass religious freedom laws. There's plenty of places just like it, where people think that they have the right to pretty much kick people out of their stores or not hire them or kick them out of apartments just simply because they're gay or bisexual or lesbian, and it's just bullshit. And I'm sorry, I'm just so tired today. Go ahead, Casper. Sorry.
Oh no, I'll let Allie speak some more. Allie got here late. I've been talking for a minute.
Have you guys discussed blasphemy laws here in America?
No, we haven't.
You haven't. So the case about, and I know it's an outrageously old case, but a lot of people also, when they say, sure, let's fight blasphemy laws, especially in America, a lot of the Christians that I speak to think that's outrageous. You know, people shouldn't be persecuted for their beliefs differing from their country's main religion. And what they don't understand is that here in America, we still have blasphemy laws. Here in America, we had a young teenage kid who humped a statue days, and you know, he gets probation, and he's in trouble for someone snapping a picture of him humping Jesus's face. That is a perfect example of, you know, the religious privilege in this country. Had he humped a garden gnome, that wouldn't have happened. Even if I adore that garden gnome, even if it's something that I hold dear to my heart, he probably would not have been, you know, in a jail type situation over that issue. So it just goes to show again, you know, the hypocrisy of the religious in this country, where they say, oh, well, if that stuff's happening in an Islamic country, that shouldn't stand. People shouldn't die. People shouldn't, you know, be persecuted that way. Well, they are here. It's happening here under our own noses. So, I mean, like, what are they doing? Where's the outrage with that? You know, why aren't people stepping up and saying, why is this child having a record for a little joke? You know, and it's simple. It's because the majority of this country love Jesus Christ, so they're fine. They're fine with ruining a kid's, probably not ruining his life, but you know, that is going on his record. It is going to be harder for him to, you know, explain that on college applications or, you know, things of that nature. So it just sucks. It just really sucks.
No, and it's certainly not as common here as it is in other nations. You know, it's not as big a deal here. I guess it's something that a lot of people would say, oh no, it really doesn't matter. It's not that big a problem. We don't need to worry about that. I I think any problem that can lead to other people taking advantage of that situation is a problem that probably should be discussed, at least on some level. Um, if we're gonna say that, hey, your statue of Jesus is so important to you that we're willing to put this kid on probation or in jail over him taking pictures of him, you know, skull fucking it, um, and putting them on Facebook, then maybe there's a bigger problem with you being able to take a fucking joke. Or should we say, oh, well, if he does that to a garden gnome or a fucking, you know, a McDonald's statue, he should go to jail then too, you know? Um, it's a matter of, is it fair and equal? You know, is it something that we're willing to press on every level? Anything that's precious to me, if somebody defames it in any sort of way, I'm able to press charges on them and have them put in jail for offending me. Are we going to start putting anyone in jail who offends someone else? Um, it's ridiculous to think that in this country that can happen. That you might go to jail because you offended someone. Because you thought, hey man, it'd be kind of funny to skull fuck this statue of Jesus, put pictures of it on Facebook. That could be funny. It's tasteless, but it didn't hurt anyone. Nobody got hurt from that. Your feelings might have got hurt a little bit, but you didn't physically get hurt. You weren't even really emotionally hurt by that. You were just like, what an asshole, fuck that guy. And you had an avenue to do something about it that went way above just asking the person, hey man, that's not cool, don't do that again. It went way above that. And I guess in this situation we say, oh well, they were making an example out of them. Well, yep, they managed to do that. They made a real strong example out of them. And now anyone that thinks, oh, it could be funny for me to draw a picture of fucking Muhammad fucking a 9-year-old, because that's pedophilia. So somebody might get offended by that, and then what stops them from invoking this sort of law? Oh well, you've offended me. Are we going to push it to that point? I think we have plenty of people in this country that would like to push it to that point. That's why we talk about it now, before it gets to that point. That's what we try to stop. Let's not get to that point. As an atheist, is there something that someone could, defame or offend me on that's going to have me going, I wonder if I can take legal action against this person for offending me, and there really isn't anything that anyone could do that's going to make me go, oh, I'm so offended, I need to take some sort of legal action. But even if I did, there wouldn't be any recourse. I don't have religious beliefs. I don't have that privilege as an atheist. I don't have the privilege to say, hey, my beliefs are so important that I can take you to court over them, or I can use a law that's outdated as shit to, put you in a situation where now you're in legal trouble. So that's the issue of privilege. Some people get to do it, other people don't. Some people get excused from having to actually follow the fucking law. Other people don't. Why do they get those excuses? Because of their strongly held religious beliefs. And it's asinine.
Well, and another fantastic example, I think, of that is the 9/11 memorial that we have up, right? So we've got this cross-shaped memorial of the beam that I guess fell and stayed in the shape of a cross because Jesus was really God, the American Christian Jesus was really there taking care of all the victims. So they've decided that was just a phenomenal thing. Oh wow, this beam fell and it looks just like a standing cross on this tragedy where God let thousands of people die and ruined so many lives. And they have that up on government property. They have this cross up, and so groups have been trying to get it removed. And what annoys me so much is that there are so many atheists that are saying, "Oh, it's nothing. Let them have their little memorial. It's not that big of a deal. It was a terrible thing, and this is the way people are dealing with it. Let them deal with it how they want to." Well, they're breaking the fucking law. Okay, and that's why it's a big deal. Whenever we start excusing one thing after another, after another, after another, where are we going to be in the end of all this? Whenever we start saying, oh, well, the law doesn't really matter here because feelings, aren't we just supporting the whole issue in the first place? So it really, really bothers me that we have so many people who are against the removal of this religious memorial. So what they did to make it fair, was they went ahead and put up little memorials around that cross for people of other faiths who were also lost in the 9/11 attack. So, you know, we've got a Star of David out there. We've got a Hindu symbol. We've got symbols for some other religions. But what about the atheists and the humanists and, you know, the other people who also died in that tragedy? You know, having all these religious symbols up doesn't really represent them either. So it's frustrating that they say, okay, so you guys want to have this removed based on religious grounds. Well, this isn't religious. This memorial isn't religious now. Somehow this cross that fell, that everyone was like, that's the sign God has been here. And they decided to make a memorial out of it. Somehow the courts have ruled, okay, well, this isn't a religious memorial. So atheists have no grounds to want to get this removed. How the fuck is it not religious? Tell me how it's not religious. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I fully understand, and I sympathize with these people that want to keep this cross up as a memorial to the fallen people there. I do fully understand it, and my heart breaks for them. However, it's on government property, and they're breaking the law. And, you know, even though we've got judges who say, well, I'm a Christian and I appreciate this memorial, so I'm going to find a way to figure out how to make this okay. You're just finding loopholes in the law to fit your own feelings, and that's not fair. The law is not about the law isn't about fairness for the most part, right? The law is completely separate from fair. And we can prove that with especially the UK's ruling that a woman can drink while pregnant and not get arrested for it afterwards, because you're kind of cutting a barrier between what's ethical, right? I don't find it ethical or morally appropriate for while she's pregnant. But if we deny her that right to drink, then we're treating her like she's some sort of incubator. And so the law had to step in and kind of take away the morality of the situation and lay out the legality of the situation. And sometimes we have to do that. And that's what makes the law so really ultimately in the end fair. Is we have to remove our feelings and what we find morally acceptable or not, and we have to see what the law says about it. And our laws say that you can't hold a religious symbol on government property for a reason. It says separation of church and state. And here we do. We have this memorial that's up there right now, and that's absolutely religious privilege. It just is. I would not be able to. I don't think that atheists would be able to go up there and, you know, erect a huge flying spaghetti monster sign and say, oh, this is on government property, and then this is, you know, the Pastafarian religious aspect of it, and they'd be like, no, you know, I don't know of any religious judge in that case who would be like, oh, well, this isn't religious. We'll go ahead and let you keep that up there. But we don't want to do it either because it's against the law. It's against the law to do that. So it's just, it's frustrating for so many people on so many different levels. Another really good one there was a mother who lost her son in a driving accident. I forgot what state this happened in. I want to say it was in Virginia, but I could totally be wrong. And she put a little cross up. No one had a problem with her little cross, right? He died on government property, state property, and she wanted to keep a little cross up there, and no one said anything. Well, then she wanted to put up a huge, like 10-foot cross. This thing was huge, and it was not only just a gigantic, gross eyesore, but it was also distracting for drivers on the road. So they had to fight it and say, you know what, your huge religious cross can't stay here any longer because you're violating the law. And she made such a huge stink over it. You know, this is my son. I'm trying to memorialize my son. And it's like, I get it. I do. My heart again, broken for you. And I understand that that brings you a lot of peace, but God damn it. Like how much are we supposed to turn our eyes away from this shit out of respect and understanding? A little cross, I can understand. Again, that's kind of me skirting on what's legal and what my feelings are, but she's a mother and that made her feel good. But Jesus Christ, pushing it to be some 10-foot tall, gigantic, ugly eyesore, like, do that on your own property. Do that for yourself. You can't be doing that. And I understand that this is an uncomfortable kind of conversation, because anyone who has a heart, anyone who understands that a mother loves her child and wants to memorialize them in a great way, anyone can understand that, I think. But at the end of the day, there's a law for a reason, and it's I don't know. It's an uncomfortable situation, I feel, to even have to talk about, especially when you know these people. I had a friend who committed suicide in high school, whose parents put crosses at his grave, and I knew he didn't even really love the church. He killed himself because he was gay. He killed himself because nobody accepted him. And even at his final resting point, there is crosses, and that's totally legal, and that's kind of completely separate from what we're talking about here. But it is on the emotional and how much we're willing to understand. His parents were religious, and everyone knows that your final resting point is definitely for the living to go grieve you at. So if that makes them feel good, if that makes them feel comfortable, do it. I don't think that it's right, but I definitely do understand where they're coming from. That was their son. The cross makes them feel better. He's dead. At the end of the day, he's dead. So do it. But this woman wanted to do it at the spot where her son died, not where he was buried. And that's, how much understanding are we supposed to have in those situations?
Yeah, real quick, just because to show you, for me, it's just another reason to tax the churches, because if they're going to ask for special treatment like this over and over again, I say we tax them and get those millions and millions of dollars that they're suckering out of people every single fucking year.
They're not going to tax this. They're not going to hold religious people to the same standards as everyone else. It's not going to happen.
I'm just waiting for that social experiment for someone to pull off. Another atheist to open a business, and some Christians walk in, and that atheist tells them, "You know what? It's against my secular belief not to serve Christians. Get out of my store." I guarantee you that shit would be all over Fox News.
Most of us wouldn't act like that. Well, I know, but I say most of us. It's not even most of us.
I mean, for me, it would be a fun social experiment just to try.
There's plenty of people in our community that are total shitheads. So there's plenty of people that would do that because they could. So they would love to just fuck with other people because it's what they do. It's what they enjoy. They want to troll people in real life, and that's all religious people are doing with shit like that. They're trying to troll the shit out of people. It's a bad joke. It's a terrible fucking joke that nobody's really laughing about. But it's a joke that's been pushed so far that it actually damages people's lives. We're talking about this case in Louisiana, and when it comes down to a child's welfare, and you say, well, because you're a priest, you don't have to tell anybody that this child's welfare is in danger, you're endangering another human being. You're putting another human being in harm's way. You know, just to say, well, your religious beliefs have more importance than that person's life. That's the fucked up part. That's the fucked up thing. Someone else's religious beliefs have more importance than another person's well-being. That's an insane thing. Imaginary bullshit from a fucking ridiculous 2,000-year-old book has more importance than another person's life and well-being. That's what this judge said, in essence.
Well, so this was also posted in the Atheist Republic team group, and we had a discussion on it. And what I think a lot of people don't know is that while the judge in the recent rule on this case, this has been the case forever. In confession, while you're in confession, you can tell a priest anything, and he can't do anything. He's not supposed to. I take it back. He can do anything, but he is not supposed to tell anyone. We've had murder cases where people have gone and confessed to a priest, and a priest has stayed quiet about it. He hasn't opened his mouth. He hasn't done anything to warn the police. What he's supposed to do is he's supposed to tell the person who's committed the crime that he needs to turn himself in or herself in. If they don't, he can withhold, what is the term they use for getting rid of their sin? Well, whatever, I'm drunk. He just needs to not, he won't bless them to rid them of their sins. And then if they refuse to tell the police, and then that's it. So ultimately, let's say you're a Catholic, and you're, just since you were a tiny little boy, you've been going to the same church, and one of the people in your church rapes and brutally murders, say, your mother, right? And he goes to the priest who's known you since you were a child, and he confesses to the priest. Priest says, you need to turn yourself in, bad boy. No rosaries for forgiveness for you. And that's it. So this person, who he's known since you were just a tiny little kid, he will never give you the peace you deserve of knowing who did this to your mother. You will never get that peace because he doesn't have to say anything if it was told to him in confession. So if a priest learns that a child has been molested outside of a confession, he is mandated by law to tell. And here's the part that's really fucked up, is they don't. Right? So when they find out outside of confession that one of their own priests are diddling children on the side, they don't tell the police like they're mandated to do. If they do report it, most of the time it's to higher ups in the church so that they can get that priest and move him somewhere else before this becomes a problem. That is the most fucked up part, because we know this is happening. We have proof that this has happened. We have proof that this has continued to happen over time, and nobody is getting in trouble for this. We're not stopping this from happening anymore. And so for the Louisiana court to say, well, anything told to him in confession, he doesn't have to. Yeah, we know this. Like, why hasn't this been an issue before? Why haven't we been livid over this before? How is this still going on in 2016 when this was a problem for a fact back in 1980 and before that? But that's as far back as I know being alive, So it's frustrating to me that people didn't even know that priests weren't mandated to tell any crime that happened to them in confession. And I'm really happy that this ruling came out recently so that we need to be telling people, the word needs to be kind of spread here, because yeah, it's outrageous. It's been outrageous. It has always been this way, and it seems like nothing is going to fix it. our laws aren't going to change it, because the Catholic pull here is bigger than the law. And that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying they are bigger than the law. There are rules for priesthood, because if a priest does tell what happened in confession, he can lose his identity in the church. So we're saying that's more important than our country's well-being. That's more important than, and this is all over the world. And you know, in any country, they're saying, any place that this is allowed, they're saying that the priest's role in the church is more important than our children's well-being. And even though they're mandated goddamn reporters, they get loopholes. And then when they don't abide by the law, they get off anyway. So what do we do?
Well, there's nothing we can do. You know, we talk about it, draw attention to it, and nobody cares. I mean, the vast majority of people here just don't give a shit. They really don't fucking care. Um, our best line of defense is to educate people and to try to actually bring them out of that system to where they don't want to associate with that sort of bullshit anymore. They don't want to associate with religion and all the bullshit that comes with it. Um, you know, that's what our organization tries to do. Um, we do the best job that we can at that. Um, but how much can you really do? You know, we're not going to be able to change laws. We're not going to be able to actually go in and say, oh no, you have to say something. You know, uh, it's because it's not just about um, this one case with priests. You know, it goes beyond that. I'm sure that if a minister in a Baptist church um, received the same sort of information from one of their uh, from one of their followers, they'd also get the same treatment. They'd also get, you know, that sort of privilege to say, well, you know, they came to me in good confidence, you know, and I couldn't really say anything. You know, I knew, but I couldn't really say anything because they came to me in confidence. And as their spiritual leader, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. And it's kind of fucked up because we've actually gotten to the point where we say psychiatrists and psychologists, like when you go see someone like that, if you tell them some shit like that, um, they used to be under that umbrella of protection too, and it's getting to the point where we're like, well, we've got to narrow that umbrella down. You know, we've got to narrow that umbrella down and say that you don't get as much protection as you used to get, but yet that umbrella is still just as big for religious people. I mean, it's a huge umbrella, and they're safe and sound and cozy under it. So, you know, uh, I think that us talking about things like this, and I know a lot of people don't actually watch the show when it airs. They'll go back and watch it later. Um, we don't reach a lot of people through that. That's why we do the other things we do in the organization. That's why we blog on stuff. That's why we write books. That's why we publish books. We we try to reach people that actually want to know things, actually are willing to do this crazy thing called reading, and they actually want to gain information and knowledge. And when you have people that are actually reaching out to gain information and knowledge, then you're actually able to open a dialogue and talk to them and have discussions with them. Um, the people that think that the only thing that matters is what they see here on fucking YouTube or on their fucking television, you know, the things that talking heads are fucking telling them, those are the only things that matter. So they don't actually take the time to actually, learn things, study, engage in real meaningful discussion. You're not going to reach those people. We know that. We know that fully. We know that this is something we do for us because it's our way of venting. We reach a lot of people through other avenues, though, and that's the great thing. That's the thing we have to keep doing, the thing we have to keep working at, reaching people through avenues that are actually meaningful. So I don't know. We're not going to change anything sitting here talking about it. Hopefully, maybe 5-10 people will watch and they'll say, "Oh, that's pretty fucked up." I don't think I want to be a part of that. I think I should let more people about that, and let more people know what's going on. So that's good, but we're never going to reach that many people here. Wouldn't want to, really wouldn't, because it's just I don't know, the caliber of people that are fully engaged here are just they tend to be just, I don't know, shitheads for the most part. But we'll still have fun doing this. We'll still enjoy our asses off doing this because we get to chat and talk and have our little bit of fun here, have a few drinks, and keep doing what we're doing. You got anything else you want to add, Allie? We're about down to our last 10 minutes.
Yeah, just that I every time you talk about our reach and the people who watch this, you and I started this show a year ago, I think, probably around now. And the whole point was just for you and I to get drunk and talk about shit that pissed us off. It was never really to reach people. I would prefer it not, actually, with my line of work and what I'm working to do. So, it's funny, but whenever people do watch our show, I think it's great because you and I are so serious in the work we do with the Atheist Republic. And I'm a really nice person. So whenever people do watch this show, they kind of get a completely different perspective of who we can be in our lives. And it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, that's what this show is. It's what the show will always be. And about people talking, and that's how we get real change. That's true. And it's been proven true, I can't tell you how many times on our page, where people have joined our page. They've liked our page specifically to troll us, specifically to let us know that our views on their religion are wrong and blah, 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 blah. Well, and then after a couple months, and some of them even after a couple of years, come back and they're like, I'm an atheist now. What the fuck? I don't know how I got here. But after the course of time, not being able to defend the same bullshit day after day has led me here. What do I do now? And then we're there for them, That's why we build the communities that we build. There's a place for everyone to belong. We've got masterminds for people who really just want serious discussion. We have our Atheist Republic group, which now has 65,000 members, and growing so much every day. And that's where people just goof off and talk about tits, whatever. And then we've got the page where you can have actual, honest conversation between atheists, Muslims, Christians, people all over the world. So there's some place to belong everywhere. This is the place where, we belong. This is kind of our place. And this is where we do bounce ideas off each other. And the really good shit we do take back to the huge avenues that have 1.3 million followers, that have 65,000 members. We bounce the shit off each other here, and we go and we talk about it. And when we do, real change happens, and good things happen, and that's what I love about it. And that's why it'll always just kind of be what it is. It's great. People talking is the way to change the world.
Add anything, Tony? Give us your final thoughts.
No, not really. I'm good. Y'all pretty much said it. There's nothing more I can add at this point.
All right, so my final thoughts for the night. Whenever there is any group that has privilege or a higher standing than others, there's always someone who gets left out in the lurch. It's always someone who gets left behind. And that's what the real problem is. The problem with any sort of privilege, religious privilege included, is that it's detrimental to others and it's detrimental to the whole. It's divisive and it defeats the idea of inclusivity and trying to actually get somewhere as a society and as a whole. I know a lot of people that called themselves humanists because it was a fad. You know, it's one of those things. Oh well, you know, I'll call myself a humanist because you know it sounds better than atheist, and people respond better to that. So I'll just call myself that. But they don't really believe in the idea of humanism. They don't really believe in the idea of inclusivity. They don't believe in the idea of humanity as a whole and working towards making humanity better as a whole. And they're on every side of the fence, you know. They're religious people, they're non-religious people, they're atheists, they're Satanists, they're anyone. And they, you know, they jumped on that fad and that bandwagon, but it really didn't work out for them. And when they're put on the spot, their true colors show, and they have no interest in actually working for the betterment of humanity as a whole. These are people that enjoy privilege, especially religious people. They enjoy privilege, and who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? You know, who wouldn't like to be treated better than the vast majority of other people for one reason or another? You know, to know that you're not going to have to deal with the bullshit that some other people have to deal with because apparently you're better than them for one reason or another. If if we actually give a shit about humanity as a whole and where we're going, um, if you actually think it matters what's going to happen after you're dead, then privilege is something that you probably want to try and fight against, even if it's privilege that benefits you personally, because it's not good for other people. It's not good for everyone if you have privilege. It's not good for everyone if someone else has privilege. So I guess the question that anyone has to ask themselves is, do I give a shit? Do I give a shit what happens after I'm dead and gone? Do I give a shit what happens to humanity as a whole? Does it fucking matter, or am I just nihilistic as shit? I'm like, fuck it, man. I get this one little bit. I'm gonna do me while I'm here, and you know, fuck the rest of y'all. When I'm gone, I'm fucking gone. It's over. I don't give a shit. I can't tell you what's right or wrong in that situation. Um, I can't tell you which one of those avenues um, is the correct avenue. And tell you which one is more ethically tenable for humanity. And it's giving a shit, you know. That's why Atheist Republic has the motto we have. We're atheists who give a shit. You know, we care. We care what's going to happen after we're gone. We care our kids and our grandkids are going to grow up in. And even if we don't have kids or grandkids, we care about the world that's going to be here after we're gone. We want to make a difference. And fighting against privilege in any form is one of the ways that you show that you give a shit, that you actually care, and that you want to better humanity as a whole. So when we talk about privilege, let's remember how far privilege can go. Okay? In Saudi Arabia, Islam has excessive privilege. It's not just Saudi Arabia. It's any Islamic country that is ruled under an Islamic regime, they have excessive privilege. And a lot of us will sit around day in and day out condemning the actions that take place in those countries. And yet we see privilege here in our own nation. We see Christian privilege here in our own nation. We don't say anything. You know, we act like, well, you know, we're free for the most part, and nobody's, you know, nobody's getting hanged for being gay here. So, why do we need to worry about that? And it's because of the extreme that it can go to. If you're willing to fight against privilege, Islamic privilege in an Islamic nation, and all the dangers and detriments that come with that, then why aren't you willing to fight against it here? So I guess that's the question I'm going to leave folks with. Are you willing to fight, or do you just not give a shit? It's cool either way. You do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to keep doing what I do. Very final thoughts. We have, so lucky, we have David Silverman coming on the show this Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time. That'll be 4 p.m. Eastern, and on down the line. I'm hoping that anybody that watches this show can fucking do time zone math and understand when the show is going to be on if you want to see it live. If not, you can come back and watch it later. It's going to be here. It's going to be up. But David has been so gracious to give us an hour of his time, come on the show and talk with us about a great many things. What David won't be talking about. We're not going to discuss with David how he became a fucking atheist. Everybody should know that. If you know who David Silverman is, you should kind of know his backstory. We're going to discuss a little bit about what's in his new book, Fighting God, but not a whole lot. What we want to discuss with David is a lot of other issues, a lot of other things, and some more hardball questions that he doesn't tend to get that often from other atheists. He gets them when he's on CNN and shit, but he gets them from a much different perspective. So really happy to have David on this Friday. Please join us, watch the show, or come back and watch it later. Be happy to have David on here and for everybody to watch and check that out. As always, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are not necessarily the thoughts and opinions of all members of Atheist Republic. We have a large team, well over 300 people, and we cannot possibly speak for all of those people, nor can we possibly speak for all of the atheist community. These are all a bunch of individuals. They all have their own thoughts and opinions. So take it for what it is. If you have any problems with the shit we say here, please address them to us. Address them to Devils in God's Country. We have a Facebook page. You can reply down in the comments section under the videos. You can visit our Facebook page. You can email me personally, Casper at atheistrepublic.com. You can email Allie at atheistrepublic.com. And we'll be happy to listen to you air your grievances or tell us, what you like or what you don't like about the show. One last thing, Atheist Republic is a 501c nonprofit organization. The things that the Atheist Republic organization does are not free. although this show and the things that we do here are completely free and we don't want your money. But Atheist Republic, the organization, could definitely use your money to help people, to help us accomplish the goals that we have set out to accomplish. We're trying to build a strong and vibrant atheist community, both online and in local communities. And we are also trying to help spread the message of secularism and atheism, you know, a lot further. We're also working to help atheists in nations where they are very stringently oppressed or in danger to get out of those countries and to lead a hopefully more normal and decent life where they don't have to be in fear of their life on a constant basis. So visit atheistrepublic.com if you feel like you could pitch in a little bit, if you want to write for us, if you want to do a show for us, a podcast, anything. It's a whole laundry list of stuff you can do for us. If you got a couple bucks you want to throw at us, hey, we appreciate that too. So this has been another episode of the Devils in God's Country. We will be back this Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time with a special episode featuring David Silverman. Thanks for watching, guys.